Welcome back, everyone. Here's another video right from the meme list. In case you didn't know, the meme list is a timeline containing everything that has happened to my friends and I since the beginning of time. Today's video is about an absolute tragedy that occurred at one of my old jobs. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So, this was a typical day at work. It was one of my old jobs back in the day. I do not have this job anymore. But anyways, I worked at a grocery store called Cub Foods. Now, this grocery store is mainly just in the Midwest. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically just this copy and paste grocery store, just has food and stuff. It's the same as any other random grocery store that you'd see around. But I'm working here, casually putting grapes on the shelf. As I'm putting these grapes on the shelf, I'm thinking, like, why do I work here? You know, if you've worked somewhere, you always get that thought, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Out of all the places I could possibly be, like, what life decisions brought me to this point? And while I'm working, I suddenly hear a scream. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of out of the ordinary. It kind of shook me out of my mind. But I was like, I looked up and I didn't see anyone around me. So I just kind of went back to putting grapes on the shelf. Maybe that's a little bit selfish, but that's exactly what I did. So anyways, I'm still like putting grapes out. And then I hear another scream. And this one is a lot louder. So I look up and I finally see where like everything is going down. The main situation is at the front of the store. There's this like little kid, I think it was a granddaughter, and she was with her grandparents. And these grandparents, well, they're older, so they had these drivable shopping carts for them to drive themselves around because they couldn't move on their own. Anyways, so that's what they're doing. So I assume it was the grandparents of this kid. But this kid walks in and she clearly did not want to be there. Like the grandparents were like driving their carts in, and then she just stopped at the doorway because she realized, oh shoot, I'm entering this grocery store. So the kid is like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Starts to walk out the front door. And this grandma just absolutely loses it and starts screaming at her, like, oh my God, you're scaring me. Oh God, help me. Oh, you're running away. And this daughter is not having it, or excuse me, granddaughter is not having it. So she starts stomping her feet and screaming and throwing a fit. And she's like slowly backing out of this front door. And this grandma just starts screaming and like bloody murder, like the world is absolutely ending. Like she just bellows, like, oh my God, stop. You're scaring me. You're scaring me. Just screaming so loud. And the kid just keeps backing away out of the store because she just like does really doesn't want to be there. And she realizes like no matter how loud this grandma screams, she's not going to be able to get out of this drivable shopping cart to help. Okay, no offense to the grandma, but there's no way she could have walked, but she could drive. So she comes up to this kid, she gets her drivable shopping cart, drives it up to like so we have an automatic door at this store. Like it automatically opens when you walk through it. So she drives up to the frame. The door opens for her and she drives up, like basically hits the frame with her drivable shopping cart to try to like get closer to the kid. Because the kid's still like slowly backing away, but she's kind of standing her ground as she stomps her feet. So the grandma's trying to catch up. Unfortunately, she can't walk. So she grabs onto this frame, literally like out of trying to climb out of her shopping cart frantically that she's driving, like grabs onto the frame of this automatic door, tries to pull herself up, and she can't really stand, and I don't even know how it supported her weight, but like she couldn't really stand, but she's like trying her absolute best while still screaming like, you're scaring me, you're gonna leave. Anyways, this is where I decide to finally get involved. I go up to like one of my coworkers working at the time. Great guy. I'll call him Jim for this story. And I was like, "Yo, should we do anything? Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm just out here putting out grapes. Like, do I need to get involved in this?" And it was pretty hilarious. Like, we were kind of laughing on the inside. I mean, maybe we shouldn't have been doing that. Maybe that's a little bit evil, but it was pretty funny. But we look over there, and then a manager finally comes up to them to help. And like this grandma's still screaming and frantically climbing out of her cart. Anyways, I did not know what was going on. Unfortunately, I didn't stay till the very end to see how the manager resolved the situation, but it was quite a hilarious sight to see this grandma climbing out of the shopping cart, frantically trying to walk and chase this kid basically to get her back into the store. And by the way, there's a grandpa sitting here in the shopping cart. He's just chilling and like watching this whole thing going down. Like, I'm not gonna get involved in this. But anyways, there's a few more screams, but then the manager begins to help. And then Jim's like, "Yo, like what just happened?" Because he wasn't even like paying attention most of the time. Just like me, I like thankfully looked up on time. I was a little bit closer to the situation, but Jim was like on the other side of like my department. So we like I go up to Jim, I'm like, yo, we're going to the cooler. And then we like go into the cooler and we just start I tell him the whole story. We just start laughing our asses off. It was so funny. Like I know it's like terrible because his daughter could have just ran out in this parking lot on her own, and like there's no way these grandparents could have stopped her because all they have are these drivable shopping carts. But like, just imagine the situation: just this giant grandma trying to climb out of this drivable shopping cart. She's like falling over, basically trying frantically to stand up by clawing her way up this door frame to chase his granddaughter out of the store. It was just so funny to me. And I just start, Jim and I just keep laughing and laughing and laughing. And yes, we're kind of monsters for that, but it was pretty funny. All right. You gotta admit, like, if you're just having a boring old time at a boring old job, putting freaking grapes on the shelf, having that kind of moment is just pretty nice, you know? Something you don't get to see every day. So, anyways, that's all I have time for today. That's the whole story. So if you like this, remember to like it, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Adios.